attorney. He is married to Carol, and they're the proud parents of daughter Mary and son Pete. Carol, Pete, and Mary are accompanying Governor Mead this morning, and we're happy to welcome all four of them. What kind of a job do our Wyoming neighbors feel Governor Mead is doing? When last measured, he had a 77% approval rating. Now, as Mitt Romney's surrogate, please welcome Wyoming Governor Matt Mead.
Thank you very much. Thank you. What a kind welcome. Well, my wife Carol and I are delighted to be with all of you this morning, and especially to be able to speak on behalf of Governor Romney. Regarding that approval rating of 77%, I would just tell you that my closest friends ask me about that, and they say, you know, Matt, Wyoming's not a very large state. It's amazing to us you only have met 23% of the people in this state. Let me start out this morning and tell you that the citizens of Wyoming and my family and I, our thoughts and prayers are with the people in Colorado who have been seriously threatened by the wildfires. In Wyoming, we too have been fighting fires. The dry season has made fires pop up. I think we have 9 major fires in Wyoming. But we appreciate our good neighbors in Colorado and know that in times of need in Wyoming that Colorado helps us. And so I have authorized the National Guard and equipment to come help with the Colorado fires as we can. And we will continue to do that. Our wish, our hope, our prayer for the citizens of Colorado, the brave firefighters, the elected officials in Colorado, that they continue to address this as they have with diligence, and that soon the fires will be put out and people and your land will soon be safe again. I want to, before I get into some of my comments, and as I look through the list of speakers that you have had and you will have, I am sort of, you have bands and you sort of have the warm-up act for the band. I'm not the warm-up act. I'm sort of the warm-up act for the warm-up act. So, but I do have a few things that I would like to address this morning. But to put my comments in perspective, I need to tell you a little bit about Wyoming and just a little bit about me. First of all, I am a fourth generation rancher from Wyoming, and very proud of that. I'm proud that to call Wyoming home. And I'm proud to say that I'm a Westerner. I will also tell you, to the extent some of you may not be familiar with this part of the country, just so we avoid this mistake, when I have been in D.C. a time or two and I've been asked where I am from, I am growing weary of explaining Wyoming is, because the question is, now what town in Colorado is Wyoming? So to be clear, we are not part of Colorado. We are not a suburb of Salt Lake City, and we certainly are not a northern outpost of Montana. What we are is we are the 10th largest state in the nation. We also happen to be the least populated state. We are proud Westerners. And when I use that term Westerners, I want to be clear here too, that being from the West, say Hollywood, California, does not qualify you as Westerner. Here's what we are. We are a natural resource state. We are an energy state. And in fact, we say we are the energy state. Wyoming produces more British thermal units and exports them than any other state in the Union. 10.76 quadrillion BTUs per year. We are proudly number 1 in coal production, number 2 in natural gas production. We are proud to say that we have the number 1 in terms of uranium reserves. We are number 8 in oil. We have other minerals. We're number 1 in trona, number 1 in bentonite, number 1 in the production of helium. We recognize the value of using these natural resources, not just for our state, but what they mean to our country. And as we used to think about talking about energy independence for this country, it often was branded as political rhetoric. But with the right president, we can make that a reality. We have the resources to do it. Now, being from an energy state, often people ask about, well, what about the environment? We're proud of our environment in Wyoming. We are good stewards of the land, and we need to be because our second largest industry is tourism. And we have historically done a very good job balancing development and doing it in a responsible fashion. And we believe now and have believed that the best people to regulate that is not people from D.C. who believe Wyoming is a town in Colorado, but the states themselves. And of course, like Colorado, well, we are proudly an ag state. But in terms of history, inclination, and experience, our people in the state of Wyoming are conservative. As a matter of fact, by elections, we are the most red state in the union, and dang proud of that as well. It is in our nature, it is in our being to be fiscally restrained and to be supportive of states' rights. Our elected officials in Wyoming, not surprisingly, mirror our citizens. And as we are here today to consider the future of our country, I want to point out what the responsible use of natural resources, a fiscally conservative nature, and states' rights has meant to our state. And this is not just me, these are outside observations. A few things. Number one, we are one of 3 states with no corporate or gross receipts tax. We are one of 9 states with no income tax. We have been voted just recently as the best business-friendliest tax climate. We have been voted overall as the #1 state for tax climate. We are one of the top 5 next boom states. We have the highest percentage of residents with high school diplomas per capita. We have the lowest electrical prices per million BTU. We have the 5th lowest business costs. And finally, last year, which was very good news as a new governor, we were rated by 24/7 Wall Street as the best run state in America. Now, of course, politicians are always quick to grab credit, but the fact is, it's for those who came before me and those who always kept Wyoming conservative. The fact is, it is the private sector who's put Wyoming in that wonderful position. And I bring those facts up about our tax climate, about being business friendly, because as we consider the future of this country, it could be with a new president, we too could have this across this country. And wouldn't that be a wonderful thing to have less regulation and less taxes and business booming? It is absolutely critical that our next president knows the value of the West to our country. It is critical that our next president appreciates religious freedom. It is critical our next president appreciates states' rights. Only one candidate knows and appreciates the West. Ladies and gentlemen, that candidate is Governor Mitt Romney. Now, I will tell you that because we are the smallest state, we often become, I would say, agitated and irritated that we are viewed as a flyover state. The only thing worse than sort of being ignored is actually having Washington pay attention to you, because that's when bad things happen. But we want to know that our next president knows about the West and knows about Wyoming. And I will tell you, during the primary season to date, there's been exactly one candidate who's made multiple calls to me to have discussions. And that candidate was Mitt Romney. And when I say he called me, I don't mean a call where a staffer gets on the line and says, Matt, please hold for the next staffer who will tell you how long you're going to be on hold. I'm talking about him calling me directly, him leaving me messages. And when we had the opportunity to have discussions, and this was critical for me, he not only knew about Wyoming, he knew about Wyoming issues. He had taken time to learn about Wyoming. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a man who knows about the West, knows what we have here, and knows what we value here. I was impressed by this, and I continue to be impressed by the Romney team as they travel around the country. They're extraordinarily busy, but yet we see in Wyoming them stopping at some of our smallest towns to greet and meet our people and to answer questions. They don't do this because we're a swing state. They don't do this because they fear that what we're going to vote in Wyoming. They do it because they care about Wyoming. They do it because they care about the West. I talked about that we have a proximity and a bond to Colorado, and there's no question that we do. And that's for a number of reasons, including the fact we share a border. We also share a bond because in a healthy way, in my view, we have competition for jobs, for businesses. We share a bond because our universities compete for dollars, our universities compete in athletics. As you know, CSU is in close proximity to the University of Wyoming, and they have a very healthy rivalry. In fact, it is a very bad day in Wyoming, and a very bad day. Those 77% go down every time we lose to CSU. It is not a good thing. But on those days, I want you to know that I take solace in the fact that I met my wife of 20-plus years at the University of Wyoming. She grew up in Littleton, Colorado, and I stole her, and I'm glad of it. And while she is from Littleton, Colorado, she is pure Wyoming, and I'm very proud of her and the job she's done as First Lady of Wyoming. Here in Colorado, the GOP has control of the Colorado State House of Representatives, holds 3 of the statewide elected positions, and 4 of Colorado's 7 congressional seats. Since the 2008 presidential election, the mood has shifted dramatically here, opening the door for Republican victories this November. A concerted get-out-the-vote program by Republicans in Colorado will take place in the run-up to the election. This will include efforts to ensure absentee voting as well as voting on Election Day. Colorado has more registered Republican voters than Democrat voters. The margin in Colorado is currently about 115,000 more Republicans. And when I see that number, 115,000, I'm thinking that's roughly 1/5 the population of our state. So come on, Colorado, come on. The Victory Operation is a joint effort of the RNC, the Republican Party of Colorado, and the Romney campaign. And the focus is to get Republicans elected from the top down on the ticket. Voter enthusiasm, I believe, is on the side of Republican candidates. Voters are ready for a new direction. The fact is, this president did not deliver on his promise made in 2008 in Mile High Stadium for hope and change. What in fact happened is his change curbed our hope. He failed to fix the economy. He added trillions of dollars to the national debt. He alienated many of our voters with his bad policies. Chief amongst them, I would say, is the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. I was interested as we watched the Supreme Court decision how quick the media was to say, this is a great victory for President Obama. The wind is now at his back. I don't view it that way at all, because what in fact has happened is that this thing was sort of hanging around, but he owns it totally now. It is a dish, it is a meal that's sort of been held up, and now he is going to serve that to the American people, and the American people do not want it, they don't favor it. It is not good policy for any state in America, and in particular, in my view, the western states. Now, they try to spin it a little bit, saying, listen, it's constitutional. We don't judge something, whether it's good policy, whether it's legal. We don't make decisions in our life just because it's legal, it means it's good. And they have changed this penalty on the individual mandate and said, no, it's not a penalty, it's going to be a taxation. And somehow that's good news. To me, that is a very poor job of trying to perfume the pig. It's still not good. As I mentioned, I'm a fourth-generation Wyoming rancher, and I want to share with you just a little bit about what a blessing it was to grow up on a ranch and some of the things that I learned. Growing up on a ranch taught me the value of hard work, and it caused me to appreciate that trait in others. It taught me that there is consequences to action, and that appearance is not a substitute for results. It taught me that there is no true success without the possibility of failure. It taught me that a life full of given trophies is much less fulfilling than a life where only one is earned. It taught me that those things that we want in life, it is not the American dream to be given those things, it is the American dream to be able to earn those things. I can tell you Governor Romney knows that. And now truly a ranching Wyoming story, but translates beyond ranching and beyond Wyoming. My great-grandparents homesteaded in Wyoming. Some of their life, they literally lived in a covered wagon. My grandfather used to tell me what his father, my great-grandfather, said, and that was this. He said, in Wyoming, where you find one blade of grass, you leave two. And the reason that transcends ag is really what the message is. Every generation has an obligation, has a duty to leave better things for the next generation, to improve upon it, to give back. And the fact is, President Obama has not been leaving that second blade of grass. He instead has taken blades of grass from future generations. During presidential election cycles, the question is often asked, are you better off than you were 4 years ago, or are you better off 3.5 years ago? Recently, I was speaking to a Republican group, and I asked that question, are you better off than you were 3.5 years ago? And I didn't wait for the answer. I gave them the answer. I said, no, you're not better off. No one is better off. And as I've learned in my short time of governor, when you get off the stage and you see someone really making a beeline for you, and this lady was making a beeline for me, I knew, all right, this is going to be fun here. And so here she came, and she came up to me and was a little stern, and she said, Governor Mead, you were dead wrong on that. And I said, okay, how was I wrong? And she said, well, I want to tell you. And she said this with a smile. My husband, the last 2 years, has had a banner business, and his business is foreclosures. So I was corrected. But the fact of the matter is, and we're proud of this, conservative Republicans who care, we don't ask the question, am I better off than I was 3 years ago or 4 years ago? We ask the question much more broadly. We ask, are our neighbors better off? Are our schools better off? Is our security better off? Is our immigration policy better off? Are our churches better off? Our families, our future? Because, in fact, this election is not about defeating a man. It's about winning a future. It is not just about the dreams of our fathers, but in fact, it's about our dreams for our kids and our grandkids. You all here love this country as I love this country, and I never lose hope. We truly are the greatest country. No other country has provided so much opportunity, so many. No other country has provided the liberty and freedoms that we enjoy in this country. But our historical strength, our historical success, is not a guarantee of future success. This is the time for action. This is the time to show the strength of the Republican Party by coming together. This is the time when we can again replant the blade of grass for this generation and grow many more blades for the future generations. I ask you to join me in making that a reality by getting Republicans elected, by getting elected for president, the one person who can grow blades of grass turning our dreams into reality. Ladies and gentlemen, the person to do that job is Governor Mitt Romney. Thank you and God bless.